Hello, everyone. We are live here on our Facebook live stream. I'm Emmy Grimes. I'm an educator and advisor here at Senergy Medical Group. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have our amazing Scott Jensen with Tennant Products, the manufacturer behind all the supplements we carry. Excited to have you back, Scott. Thanks for being here.
Thanks
And
for having me.
we are going to be discussing or continuing the discussion of the 6 myths that provide you nutrition and how to keep you healthy, and what we often hear. I'm really excited about continuing this discussion on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me back. So my name is Scott Jensen. I'm the Director of Product Development with Tennant Products. We create all of the nutritional products for Senergy and the Tennant Institute. I became involved with this whole process because I had my own health issues several years ago. And initially, years ago, I was thinking, well, it's just nutrition. It's great. I'm a cyclist. You can eat a chimichanga, ride 100 miles. It's amazing what the body can do. Didn't realize what those effects would have, right? And then all of a sudden I ended up getting sick, and I realized that nutrition actually has a huge impact. And one of those stories that I would like to share is one of my daughter. So we have a 1.5-year-old who had some pretty significant allergies. She was anaphylactic to coconut, to palm, date, would turn cyanotic, the whole bit, to any derivatives. And so we were looking at all of the ingredients, looking at everything. And we saw 6 different allergists. We ended up seeing Dr. Tennant, and he said, well, is she on reflux meds, and what's happening? Well, you should probably increase her iodine levels. And I thought, I don't know. That's just right? We're actually just going to increase her iodine levels and that will work and fix everything. So I talked to 4 other doctors. We figured things out. My wife, who was actually breastfeeding, increased her iodine levels and breastfed our daughter, Betsy. 9 months later, she's fine, normal, absolutely no issues. So no issues, no anaphylaxis. She'll end up with a little bit of a rash from some of those sensitivities. But after seeing 6 different allergists, it turns out that nutrition was the key. And so when we focus on diet and when we focus on nutrition, we focus on the appropriate things that we're putting in products and what we're actually putting into our bodies, we can live healthy, vibrant, energetic lives. And we don't have to settle for the new normal. And, I'm just getting older. This is just how it is. And that's something that we embrace at Tennant Products. And I know that everybody at Senergy and Tennant Products kind of embrace that mentality and want to embrace that vitality. So that's one of the reasons why we're here and what we're here to discuss.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's start with one of our myths with our first topic and dive into my doctor knows best about my nutrition and diet. I think that's a good way to start off and dive into our discussion. So tell us.
Right. This is kind of a tricky one, right? Because, we do go to our doctors. We do go to our MDs. And we want to continue to go there. They know best as far as everything you're taking for prescriptions, and they know best what's happening exactly with your body and everything that's happening with your specific, your specific case. So at Tennant Products, we say, go ahead, reach out to your physician or your primary healthcare practitioner so that you can make sure that you get these results. But the question is, well, does your doctor really know what's best about your nutrition? And the answer is probably not. If they're a standard MD, recent studies have actually shown that the average medical doctor receives less than 24 hours of nutritional hours and nutritional training over the course of their entire medical school.
Wow.
According to the Harvard Business Review, less than 20% of medical schools have a single required course in nutrition. So it's no fault of their own because they have so many other things that they have to figure out. But when we actually think about nutrition and everything that we're putting into our bodies and what we're actually, the amount of information that they're actually given, if they're not an expert on nutrition, we're in a field with supplements, and supplements are not regulated by the FDA. Pharmaceuticals are, And so that's actually what they study. But when it comes down to supplements in an industry that's unregulated and incredibly litigious, we want to make sure that they're able to protect themselves. And so it's rightfully so. If you show up with a supplement and they don't know what it is, they're going to say, well, why don't you hold off on that? I don't know about that. I want to continue to practice medicine.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
It's absolutely.
Yeah. So why might they avoid those supplements? That's another question that was brought up.
Right. Well, like I was saying, there's we're in a legal society, right? And so with everything being so litigious, everyone has to watch their tracks. And if a doctor isn't absolutely confident about the material that's in a supplement, or the source, or the ingredient, or where it came from, or how it will actually affect this person specifically, we're going to say, well, don't. I'm not going down that road. It's outside of my scope. And so, you need to talk to your doctor specifically about your general health, especially if you're taking prescriptions. You should actually show them all of the supplements that you're taking, because some of those supplements can actually interfere with, any of the prescription medications you could be taking, or could have some contraindications. But when you're asking specifically about nutrition, it's best to seek the advice of, a registered dietitian, a nutritionist, somebody who may have a PhD in nutrition, or, decades of experience in nutrition as well.
That makes perfect sense. Well, good. And that's, I guess, the answer is my question. The best steps to ensure that is to make sure that you find the right people to help aid in finding those answers for you. So that's great. Yeah. So let's move on to the next myth that I'm really interested in hearing. Like, I can trust my actual listed ingredients that are listed on the bottle,
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tricky place too, right? You want to be able to trust what's actually written on the bottle. And the reality is that you can actually trust the wording on the bottle. What you don't know is the quality of the source or the integrity of the source, or how it's going to interact with your body. And so what we really need to talk about is how to look at the labels, how to read the labels, and how to know what's inside of the labels. So one of the things that we talked about last time was, synthetic versus natural,
right,
whether it's bioavailable or not. And about 90% of the supplements on the market are synthetic. And they're synthetic because they're easier to produce. It's no fault of the supplement manufacturers. They think that they're doing well, right? And it takes a lot of extra work and a lot of expertise to figure out what's actually going to work with the body, what's the natural form, what actually works directly in the cells, so that your body doesn't have to create any additional work. I think one of the great examples of this is B12. Again, we talked about this a little bit last time.
Right.
There are a couple of types of B12. And the most common, when you look at it, it'll say vitamin B12. And then right next to it, it'll say cyanocobalamin, or methylcobalamin, or methyl or adenosylcobalamin. And so what we need to figure out is, are those natural forms? Are they synthetic forms? Just like if we think about things in terms of the sports industry, if you're buying a waterproof jacket and it's just waterproof, it's just going to say waterproof. But if folks are actually spending the money on Gore-Tex to make sure that they have that license agreement with Gore-Tex, they meet all of their regulations, they're going to advertise Gore-Tex so they can charge more. It's a better product. It's the same thing with supplement facts. So when you're looking at the supplement facts, if it just says vitamin B12, try and figure out, okay, well, what kind of B12 is this? Is it synthetic? Is it bioavailable? Does it actually say the specific full name or the scientific name written out next to it? And if so, is it synthetic or is it natural? So there's a lot of information that actually comes into this. And we want to simply be able to provide the information so that folks can make an educated decision. And that's why we came up with the 6 myths. We're having these conversations with people all the time. And we said, okay, great. We just want to get the information out. Let's talk about how to actually read a label, what the differences are, and some of those things to look for.
Yes, that's great. Well, good. Well, I'm excited. That's awesome. So, is there anything specific that you could tell someone, the last was, how do you read the supplement facts specifically? And And I guess, we kind of touched that on already, but I wanted to make sure that I've fully understood.
Yeah. So in order for something to be able to be bioavailable, it needs to either be phosphorylated or methylated. And so it will say that on the label. So going back to the B12 example, it will say vitamin B12 and cyanocobalamin, or it'll say vitamin B12 and methylcobalamin, right? So there's that word methyl that's in there. And then that is the methylated form. Cyanocobalamin is actually the synthetic version, and we know that that breaks down into cyanide and cobalamin. Your body knows what to do with the cobalamin, but not necessarily with the cyanide. So then we have to figure out what to do with this and what's actually left over. So some of the things that you want to look for when you're actually looking on the label, you'll see, hydrochloride. So an example of vitamin B2 would be riboflavin hydrochloride, or HCl at the end of that, where when you're actually going to see the phosphorylated version, you would see riboflavin 5-phosphate. A great example of this would be to take a look at any one of Tennant Products labels, and take a look at the back of the label and then compare that with the generic B12 that you might have sitting on your shelf.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's awesome. Yeah, because they are very much different when you do that apples to apple comparison. So, well, that's good. Well, that is awesome. And is there anything else you want to share with the audience today with just trusting our doctors, or even just with ingredients reading, trying to make sure that we're staying healthy and taking the best supplements as possible?
Yes. So I would reiterate that your doctor does know best when we're actually talking about your health. But when we're talking about nutrition specifically, so should I eat this, should I eat that, and how's that going to affect my body? A nutritionist or a registered dietitian or somebody with extensive nutritional dietary training is probably the best resource for that. And if you are actually working with your healthcare practitioner, make sure that you're talking with them about any of the vitamins and minerals or supplements that you're actually taking. Those can both benefit or have some contraindications for some of the medications that you might be taking. So again, addressing that, we're not trying to shame doctors there, why we're here.
Right.
But when we're talking about nutrition specifically, we want to make sure that we're approaching a nutritional expert from that perspective. And then when we dive into the specific ingredients on the label, right? Big questions. Is it synthetic? Is it bioavailable? Does it actually give the longer form name next to it? So think about those things, right? Is it waterproof or is it Gore-Tex? Is it vitamin B12 or does it actually say vitamin B12 and methylcobalamin next to it? Right? The other thing is under the other ingredients, there are a bunch of fillers. So you can actually have fantastic product, but then you're actually using, a lot of manufacturers actually use some toxic fillers when they encapsulate products or to treat their machines during the manufacturing process, so that that process is easier and a little more cost effective. So no fault of their own. It makes it easier and it makes it a lot more cost effective, but those fillers can actually be toxic. So magnesium stearate is one of those that can actually be a potential toxin. So different things to look for. So if you have questions about a label and you don't know what the answer is, please look it up. And when you're researching supplements, you have to ask, do I really understand the quality of the ingredients and what's in it? So where is it sourced? Where is it coming from? How might this affect my body? And in the end, you always want the highest quality natural vitamin versus a synthetic.
Absolutely.
A lot less to be able to process the natural, the bioavailable, and it's the end result is what you're actually looking for, which is why we're all buying vitamins and supplements in the first place, is that we want more energy, we want to feel better. And so when we're diving into those things and we're actually looking at that, that's what we want to make sure we're able to address.
Absolutely. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, Scott. This has been so informative for us.